Good morning, everybody. How are you today? I welcome you all. This is going to be the Wednesday, June 5th meeting of the Kane County Executive Committee. It is 9:01, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Allen,
Allen present by Zoom if allowed. Good morning.
Bates,
Bates here.
Berman,
Berman's here.
Davis,
Davis here.
Ford, Gums,
Remote.
Caius, Kenyon,
Here.
Lewis,
Lewis remote.
Linder,
Linda remote.
Molina,
Molina present.
Sanchez,
Sanchez present.
Strathman,
Strathman here.
Surges, Pepe,
Debbie here.
Huron.
I'm here as well.
You have an in-person quorum.
We have an in-person quorum and Miss Allen, Miss Lewis, Mr. Linder. May I request their entry into this meeting all due to illness? Consent with that. Ms. Gums, is it business? Or are
Yes,
you?
ma'am.
Yes, okay. And Mr. Surges has just come. And I believe I've called everybody for that already. And Mr. Ford is not here. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can hear, I have a laryngitis. So I will try to conduct this meeting, but I have brought up my vice chair, Mr. Tepe. If my voice gets to the point where I best not speak for a little while. So he and I are going to share this responsibility today. That's why he's up here with me. So I'll try to get through what I can get through, but then I will turn it over. But I'm not leaving my post. Just going to share the microphone. If you can't hear me, just put your hand up and I'll try to get closer to the microphone because I'm speaking at full volume right now. All righty. Ms. Strathman, could you do the pledge for us?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of May 8th.
Madam Chair, this is Caius. I would ask for unanimous consent for the approval of the minutes from May.
Ms.
8th.
Bates, is that
Okay.
unanimous consent, please? Yes. Any nays? No, very good. All right, we can move on to public comment. We have a number of speakers, and as you know, be it noted that Mr. Ford is entering the room. Welcome, Mr. Ford. Good morning. That we will not have time for all of these presenters. I have over 15 speakers, sir. So we'll try to get through 5 of you. Each one of you will have an opportunity for 5 minutes to speak. Obviously, there's 6 speakers that can come on agenda. So I will call your name. If someone else who's speaking a similar message to you, if you'd like to give your opportunity to speak to that individual, please do so. But we will start. Ruth Kosmetic.
Good morning, everybody. I may not need my whole 5 minutes, so if that's the case, maybe number 7 will get to speak. And thank you for being here, everybody.
You get
Okay, is that
Good.
better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm reading a letter from my good friend Ed Marth, who cannot be here today, and I do align with his views, so I'm happy to read that. I'm writing to denounce the partisan foolishness and petty actions as shown by the 12-11 vote of the county board regarding the approval of the salary increases to the county board members, with one exception, and that was for our county chairwoman. And as Deb Fisher so passionately stated at a recent meeting, words do matter. And that last word may be the most significant. Ms. Prague is the county chair and happens to be the first Democrat and also the first woman to hold office of the county chair of the board. The rationale provided for the raises for the county board members, but not the chair, was the pretext that maybe there's going to be hiring of a full-time executive soon. Who knows when, but soon. And maybe our oceans will also simply just cool down and the climate change problems will just disappear. As you know, board salaries have been stagnant, as you know, because some of you have been here this long. They've been stagnant, and they haven't even approved reasonable salary increases that would be in line with the cost of living or even social security level increases. County board salaries have been stagnant since 2004. Now let's pause for a minute and recall what things cost in 2004. I'm just going to take one that I buy frequently, and that would be a dozen eggs. A dozen eggs cost $1.34 in 2004. Now, you know, we got all kinds of choices of eggs now, but typically a dozen eggs is just under $4 now. So significant change. The explanation for the no votes, because many of you were contacted, is that it relates to the hiring of a county executive. And first, that position must be created. And then there's a question of the proper level of compensation. And that has to be agreed upon by the whole board. And good luck with that, with what's been going on lately. I would love to see many of you on this board stop bending to some of the opinions of the few and the loud. I would hope. I should come to expect that many of you who simultaneously want to dodge the question of climate conditions also do pander to those folks. Who knows why? Maybe it's worried about losing your seat. I don't know. The question must be asked, what kind of qualified person would even consider applying for our county executive? After all, this executive would have to administrate for a board that does pander to the loud and the few and is contemplating denying that the more flooding, the tornadoes, the inching up of the temperatures is not simply due to the behavior of us humans. It's just Mother Nature and it's going to magically change. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Opponents to planning for, can you just let me?
Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, please,
Okay, we can have differences of opinion.
Excuse me.
That's democracy.
please.
Okay, let me finish. I'll finish with Shakespeare. What fools we mortals be, sugarcoating a problem does not make it go away, nor does wishing it away, nor ignoring it. The residents of Kane County are paying attention to their water, their air, their health, and they have planned, they entrust you guys to take care of it. Many of them are busy. They can't be here like we all can. I strongly support the climate action plan as proposed, and I ask that each of you fully support it as it is. Thank you.
Next speaker, Brian Anderson. And as Mr. Anderson is coming up, could I please ask the members who are in attendance, the community members, to try to refrain from cheering, clapping, etc. during a presentation. We'd like to get the persons hears their voices so we can all hear what they have to say. So thank you.
Good morning, Brian Anderson, Sugar Grove, Illinois. On agenda, the energy environment, the resolution adopting the Kane County climate plan is what I'm talking about. For 30 seconds, I'm going to the very last page. It's the ordinance. I view that as censorship. I don't know where that came from. I don't know why it's on in your vision and mission statement. And I love the citizen that just got up and spoke. You are accountable to we the people. End of conversation. If it's an agenda item, it should be 5 minutes. If it's a non-agenda item, it should be 3 minutes. That's the only way you can truly listen to your constituents. When I look at that ordinance, we don't want to hear your opinion. That's censorship. Now, I digress. Let's go and talk about what's going on that just happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. Illinois House passes $53 billion bill. Illinois now record high budget costs citizens 1.1 billion. What does that have to do with energy and environment? Well, we could spend 7 days talking about climate change and the climate industry. It's a $40 trillion industry. Climate consultants make millions and millions of dollars. Here's my question to the board. Did you do your due diligence and research on the organization that did this for you? It's a little mom and pop shop up in Minnesota. It's a guy and his wife. Okay. I think they have net assets of doing about $5 million a year in business. So they put together a nice presentation. I wonder if you did your due diligence and your vetting when you used this organization. But again, I digress. I think that you're probably trying to go lockstep with what happened in 21 with Governor Pritzker signing in the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. And I'm encouraging this board in Kane County. Have I lost your attention, Mrs. Strathman? Thank you.
Point
These
of
are
order,
serious
Madam
times,
Chair. Point of
folks.
order, Madam
Absolutely,
Chair.
yes,
Would
yes,
you
Mr.
please
Kip.
direct the speaker
You're-
to
you're-
direct their comments to the chair
topic.
and
Relax, Mr.
not
Tepe. You're about
interrupt
out of
other
job.
people?
Mr.
The Illinois,
Anderson,
no, I'm not going to be stifled here. Thank you. The governor signed the Paris Climate Agreement in 2019. That should tell all of us why we should not be involved. The U.S. is a sovereign country. We should not be going lockstep. Now let's talk about the EV. GM, 2023, they're killing the Chevy Volt. The CEO just came out and said, we are losing billions of dollars. $10 billion power grid upgrade will be required to boost renewable energy in Illinois. 10 billion. We just raised the highest taxes of any state in the United States at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's not your problem. What is your challenge and opportunity is doing the right thing here in Kane County, regardless of what they're doing in Springfield, regardless of what our $500,000 lobby group would want you to do. Illinois invests $27 million in electric vehicle charging stations. There's only 1,300 charging stations in the state. More than 675 come from downtown Chicago. There's 8,700 gas stations in Illinois. But by 2030, you want people to be driving EVs and using charging stations that aren't even there. And I am aware that on January 26th, Kane County communities tapped for EV charging station upgrade. Batavia, Elgin, Geneva. Statewide grant, 7.1 million. Where does this money come from? I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from John Q. taxpayer. My taxes continue to go up. We just raised the highest taxes in the nation to pay for something that may or may not happen. This wonderful citizen who got up and spoke, I've got a great screenshot. This is here in California, 1880, 1910, and 2024.
time is up, sir. Time
Nothing
is
has
up.
changed. Thank
Time
you,
is
Madam
up.
Chair. Nothing has
Time
changed.
is, sir, your time is
I
up.
heard you loud and clear.
All right, Michelle, you're next. Michelle Betteg.
For the, after that.
Would actually like to yield my time to Jay Check, who has signed up to speak.
All right, Michelle. And your name, sir?
My name is Jay Check.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
point of order. When a person gives up their time
they're giving up their spot, not their
Spot,
time.
that's exactly correct. Sir, you will have 5 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, I'm here to speak about the Kane County Climate Action Implementation Plan. I would recommend against the board going along with this. It's a very bad idea. It's based on bad science and many incorrect assumptions. I am a scientist trained in chemistry and material science, and I was laid off last year. And now I have time to come and address these issues before our community. So one of the things I saw in the announcement was decreasing greenhouse gases can offer multiple benefits to residents, providing energy cost savings and improving air quality. There are no cost savings. These are massive cost increases, both for the person, the taxpayer, and to the county, which means my taxes are going up. It's not going to improve air quality. All of these measures are addressed at carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. It is not a harmful gas in the air. In fact, it is the basis of all plant life and therefore all animal and human life on Earth. Further, the announcement on the website says it will cause sustainable economic vitality. Again, this is the exact opposite. It will decrease our jobs because it's going to increase the energy costs for anybody that wants to have a business or a factory in Kane County. Now, at the bottom here, it said, during the committee of the whole last month, the board asked the plan be reviewed to ensure the plan is recommending actions, but does not contain language that implies requirements or enforceable activities. So no enforceable activities, no requirements. It's a big nothing. It's a big wish list. There is nothing behind it. Now, the problem with it is when you read this report, this action plan, it reads like a talking point list from the Biden administration. And my concern is that, again, as the previous speaker mentioned, it's from this little company, Blue Dot LLC. I don't know the size of their finances or anything, but they do sell things like carbon credits and carbon auditing. So when you ask these people to make your climate plan, it's like asking your barber if you need a haircut. He's always going to say, well, you could use a little trim. So many of these goals, which are stated in the plan, they're not good. They're bad. They're bad goals. Now, in transportation and land use, TL3 goal, for example, says it's to increase population density in developed areas. Well, I like Kane County because it has a low population density. This is not something that people want. This is something that the government and the UN wants us to have. I don't want it. They say we're going to save all kind of money and achieve emission reductions by fuel switching. Well, I don't want an electric car. I'm not going to switch. And electric cars are a lot more expensive. For me, I don't want to bear that incurred cost. And it also says in goal TL4 that the county is going to adopt electric vehicles, which cost way more than gas vehicles. And who's going to pay for it? Again, your taxes going up. The next one is the building and energy. Again, they talk about fuel switching. Again, I look at my personal situation in Northern Illinois, burning safe and clean natural gas, but they want us to switch to electric. But heating your home or heating your hot water with electric costs 40% more. I don't want to pay 40% more, and the county will pay 40% more for all of their heating as well. And that's going to come to my tax. And the problem is electricity is all going to go up in price because they want to get rid of our reliable gas and coal power plants. Electricity prices are going to skyrocket. You don't get any power from solar panels at night. And we have a problem in Illinois. It's called high pressure weather. In January, in the middle of January, on a beautiful clear night when it's 10 below zero, there's no wind. And it's the same on a hot August day. High pressure can last for days or weeks, and the wind will supply nothing. And if there's too much wind, the wind will supply nothing. We cannot base our life, our economy, our first world lifestyle on these unreliable energy systems. I see my time is running short. I could talk to you a lot more about this, but there is no climate emergency. The climate is in great shape. And reduction of energy below will result in a lower standard of living. One of the climate goals is to
Thank you, sir.
reduce the miles traveled. Well, that means less going to the store, less activity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next one on the list is Jonathan Gripe.
Hard act to follow. Thank you all. I'm John Gripe and I live in St. Charles. My concerns relate to the adopting the Client Action and Implementation Plan, or CAIP, and then the committees and boards using it as rationale to do some very counterproductive things. As a former consultant, I get the whole bigger is better when it comes to reports like this. This CAIP report is a doozy. At the Energy and Environmental meeting, a consultant friend asked me, how can they make all these claims without detailed Kane County proof documents provided by pale blue dot, and made the following observations. There are 267 detailed actions needed to accomplish the numerous goals. It will also require, quote, commitment and integration of the CAIP into local government operations, functions, and services. Successful implementation of this plan will require the support and commitment of Kane County public entities, residents, and businesses, unquote. Piece of cake. Quote, the first few years after plan adoption are critical to its success, unquote. So you better buy into this plan hook, line, and sinker, or don't blame the consultant when you don't reach any of your goals. In other words, if everybody in the entire county doesn't buy into all these steps, it won't work. As with most climate plans I've read, creating fear and panic is key to getting people to do something now. Consider what I call the graphic of doom entitled The Tempest. Listen to these coming disasters: more drought, more heavy precipitation. Wait a minute, what? A longer growing season, but decreased plant productivity. Again, what? And changing precipitation. Well, okay, even expensive consultants are entitled to a few major typos. Here are some bullet points on how the report tries to scare the reader into action. Increased wildfire risks, flood risks, waterborne disease, insect-borne disease, animal habitat impact, animal to human diseases, food insecurity, heat-related illness, injury and mortality, property damage, respiratory illness, and power grid failure. Ready to end it all? Well, but wait, there's more. Please ignore the fact that in the 9-year data, the report conflicts with these predictions. Kane average temperature up 1.3 degrees. 408 million in annual additional costs. Heavy precipitation up 34%. Kane's climate moving 14 miles south every year. And the greenhouse effect on Venus makes it 867 degrees. We need more electric vehicles there. But the report says that science tells us that regardless of what we do to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, climate change will increase through the middle of this century. So reducing greenhouse gases won't matter. Not a good way to sell greenhouse gas reduction strategy to all of us non-scientists. This report may be a copy of one given to other municipalities. Someone forgot to remove a graphic saying, as Skokie's climate continues to warm, summer weather will be similar to what communities in the South already experience. My guess is that if you would go through Skokie's report, change the name to Kane County, you would have the report given to us. The report is further weakened as it shows an improving situation in Kane County and just the opposite. The report shows a 9-year trend of improvement, 4.8 reduction in greenhouse gases, all while the population increased by 3.1%, employment by 12%, and GDP by 18.3%. Per capita greenhouse gases have decreased 7.7%. Even better. Sounds pretty good to me, but that's a problem if you're trying to intimidate board members and terrify citizens into taking unneeded action. If you want a credible report, choose a better team and proofreaders. The CAIP team includes a commissioner for the city of blank, a construction contractor and blank, someone whose credentials include Gen Z, someone from St. Charles that lives in Washington, D.C., someone from Elgin with no experience, someone from East Dundee with some home upgrades, and another no experience, just interest. The report surveyed peers, none of which are counties. Community input was also not credible. Supposedly, the climate action survey was open to every Kane County resident, but of 515,000, only 1,100 responded. That's 2%. But the report puts a lot of weight behind their responses. Bottom line. So why does limited credibility, conflicting data, overreaching conclusions, and involvement of the United Nations in Kane County strategy matter? It doesn't. This report, if accepted by the board, would become the justification for expenditures of countless dollars, time, and resources in new projects, programs, and policies. This isn't a nice idea that has no bad side. This could be a climate genie that we'll never be able to put back in the bottle.
The next speaker is Roxanne Shilka, so sorry. I get it. If I don't have my readers on, sometimes it blends through. Go ahead, Ms. Shilka.
Okay. The stated goal of the Climate Action Plan is to reduce the impacts of climate change and build thriving and resilient communities by reducing greenhouse gas emissions and achieving carbon neutrality. Let's push the pause button and take a closer look at this. The issue is not with the goals, but with the assumptions and plan of action. Dr. Judith Curry has a different view. She is a climatologist and former chair of the School of Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at the Georgia Institute of Technology. In 2021, Dr. Curry was asked to explain climate change in 5 minutes. I will be quoting an edited version of her speech since I only have 5 minutes. Quote, "What is the climate crisis? It is warming caused by us. Warming is dangerous. We need to urgently transition to renewable energy to stop the warming. Once we do that, the weather won't be so extreme." So what's wrong with this narrative? In a nutshell, we are vastly oversimplifying both the problem and its solutions. The complexity and uncertainty about climate change are being kept from public debate, and the solutions that have been proposed are infeasible. Climate model predictions with alarming impacts are driven by an emission scenario that is highly implausible. They neglect scenarios of natural climate variability. And finally, emissions reductions will do little to improve the climate of the 21st century. And if you believe the models, most of the impact won't be felt until the 22nd century or beyond. According to the IPCC, there is no evidence of changing in the global frequency or intensity of hurricanes, droughts, floods, or wildfires. Climate change is a grand narrative in which man-made climate change has become the dominant cause of societal problems. Everything that goes wrong reinforces the condition that there's only one thing we can do to prevent this: stop burning fossil fuels. This grand narrative misleads us to think that if we solve the problems of man-made climate change, then these other societal problems will also be solved. This belief leads us away from an investigation of the true causes of these problems, and the end result is a narrowing of policy options that we're willing to consider. Does all this mean we should do nothing about climate change? No. We should work to minimize our impact on the planet and minimize air and water pollution. Whether or not we manage to reduce carbon dioxide emissions, we do need to reduce our vulnerability to extreme weather and climate events. We need secure, reliable, and economic energy systems for all countries in the world. We need a 21st century infrastructure to support continued and growing prosperity. The urgency of rushing into implement 20th century renewable technologies risks wasting resources on inadequate energy infrastructure and increasing our vulnerability to weather and climate extremes. How the climate of the future will play out is uncertain. Once natural variability is accounted for, it may turn out to be relatively benign, or we may be faced with unanticipated surprises. So we do need to increase our resiliency to whatever future climate presents us with. We are shooting ourselves in the foot if we sacrifice economic prosperity and overall society resilience on the altar of urgently transitioning to the old 20th century renewable energy technologies. We need to remind ourselves that addressing climate change is not the only problem the world is facing. The objective should be to improve human well-being while protecting the environment as much as we can. So again, I would echo what previous speakers, end quote. I would echo what previous speakers have brought up. Let's push the pause button, do a little more research, do a deep dive into what you're committing Kane County taxpayers to do. This could be much ado about nothing. Let's not waste our resources. Thank you.
All right, we have one more speaker, and then I'd like to confirm that with you. I have 6 minutes left, Mr. Roth.
That is correct.
Okay, very good. So we have time either for 2 speakers who may speak 3. You get the idea. So we have 6 minutes left. So the next speaker, I will put my glasses on, is Robin Magalia, please. Robin Magalia.
Can you hear me?
Very well.
Hi, thank you for letting me speak. I'm what you might call a radical health nut. I drink raw milk. I'm no stranger to how regulations work and don't work. I went to Springfield to help write the rules to ensure continuing access to raw milk. Had it not been for a small band of farmers and consumers willing to participate in that rulemaking process, the Illinois Department of Public Health would have written rules that it would have made access to raw milk in Illinois completely illegal. As a health nut, I'm also very disturbed by environmental pollution. Big ag, big pharma, and big oil all scare me. Better living through chemistry isn't happening when chemistry is at the mercy of profit taking. Please read The 100-Year Lie by Randall Fitzgerald or The Slow Poisoning of America by John and Michelle Erb to get a better idea of what I'm saying. This chemistry gave us plastic, a wonderful, durable product that's killing us slowly. Among other impacts, the hormone-disrupting chemicals in plastic are implicated in the alarming trend of 9-year-old girls getting their periods. There are 5 gyres of plastic pollution the size of Texas in our oceans. Plastic is now found consistently in placentas, umbilical cords, breast milk, and raindrops. I'm grateful our county is trying to put into place encouragements to help arrest this tidal wave of environmental pollution, interfering with my ability to continue to pursue happiness with a healthy body. I'm especially grateful for the kind of projects that enabled All Grass Farms to partner with the county to give us a local farm practicing regenerative agriculture. I'm delighted to see the county expanding on these principles in this climate action implementation plan. Thank you.
Excuse me, please. The next speaker, we have 4 minutes. And that will be Frank Esposito.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. Good morning. I'm basically going to speak on the Climate Action Implementation Plan. In the resolution as it is currently written, which is on page 181 of 888 pages out there, The first thing says, whereas climate change threatens the well-being and economic stability of the community. You've just heard speakers that would dispute that. This is an opinion, this first statement here. I don't think you want to pass a resolution that has an opinion at beginning the whole thing. I think you better get your facts straight. And if there is no way to get the facts straight, then leave that statement out. Further on page 182, which is the addendum to this resolution, in the summary, it indicates during the committee of the whole meeting, the county board asked that the language in the plan be reviewed to ensure that the plan is recommending actions, but does not contain language that implies requirements or enforceable activities. So I would think on the resolution itself, you should say that. Because when you pass this, and I'm sure you're going to, because this is just eyewash as far as I'm concerned, you're doing something so that you can tell everybody else, well, we tried to do something with climate change. Whether it needs to be done or not is immaterial. Okay? But at minimum, put that statement in the resolution itself so that it's there once and for all, that later, if you try to come up with something that says the citizens have to do this, we can go back to this and say, no, you said you're not going to require us to do it. You're going to recommend. Recommendations are fine. The other point I want to make is the very last item on the agenda, which is, off agenda, is the ordinance amending section 2-47A and B, which is the rules for a meeting. But the very last page, 888, not attached. What are the changes? What do you want to change in the agenda? Let the people know. Or are you going to slip it in now just before the meeting so that you people know what it is, but these people don't know? I would recommend that that item be tabled until you can come up with some indication as to what you're going to change. Are you going to change it that only 5 people can speak when it's supposed to be 30 minutes, regardless of how many people? I've been coming to meetings and I've been on boards. I've been on the other side of the table from these people. And every time I've been involved, I've been with a group of people that have tried to do the best they possibly can for their constituents. I'm sorry, folks. Sometimes I think we're not doing that here. So please really give some consideration to especially the climate thing. What are we really doing? Thank you.
Thank you. This on agenda topic, and now we can move to off agenda. And we have 3 speakers. Each one will be allowed 3 minutes. The first speaker is Katie O'Connor.
I'd like to give my time to Michelle Geen. Excuse me.
No, I'm sorry.
Why not?
Ma'am, her name is not on the list.
It is on the list. It's on the agenda list, and I think it's more important than what I have to say. Please. She has a confirmation email.
Michelle, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Geen. I'm quite sure you're all aware of the World Economic Forum, which is an organization pushing the United Nations agenda on the world. Agenda 2030 is just one example. It does not align with the values of America, of our Constitution, or our Bill of Rights. It is globalism, and they use crafty words and so-called ideas to push fear and gain control. Majority of Americans are not interested. We want sovereignty in our nation. We just said one nation under God, one nation. We are not a globalist ideology. We are one nation under God. We're not interested. There should be no World Economic Forum, United Nations, or WHO propaganda marketing materials in our county board, which I see posters. And yet one of their main agendas is climate change. As for climate change, which used to be called global warming, I, as well as many independent researchers who do not belong to the quote, trust the science community, see with our own common sense, as well with our own eyes, what the globalists are using this green agenda for the last 25, 30 years to sell us and to get deeper into our pockets. The World Economic members fly on their private jets to Davos every year, like the hypocrites that they are, all while wanting us, the people, to line their pockets in their agenda. This is a one world order agenda, a new world order. It's actually biblical. This was written thousands of years ago. I want to show you a clip, and I have a lot more to say, but I posted this. The World Economic Forum brings together government, business, and civil society to improve the state of the world, improve or control.
Right.
Tennessee has canceled this. There's chemtrails in the sky. We see them. They're seeding the clouds, and I have proof. This is from Lyndon Johnson. He who controls the weather controls the world. This is a quick clip. Listen carefully. 1960. Satellite.
Will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer.
The world's cloud layer. Ultimately,
He who controls the weather will control the world.
what? He who controls the weather controls the world. This is an agenda, and I hope we're all common sense wise enough. I'm not an academic. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a smart woman. I'm a mother of 5 children, 6 grandchildren. This is an agenda.
Thank you, ma'am.
You
Your
have to
time
be
is up.
smarter than this.
Thank you. Next speaker is Brenda Engelhardt.
Good morning. I'm Brenda Engelhardt. I am able to be here for the very first time. I'm a teacher of 21 years. I graduated. I retired last week, and I am absolutely thrilled to be here. And I also want to thank Mark Davis, who has been the representative in my district. To the board, I want to say, we just stood up a little bit ago and said the Pledge of Allegiance. By the way, this is non-agenda item. And the very last words I've said for 21 years, every single day of my career, liberty and justice for all. I mean it. I look in kids' faces when I say that. Today, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being authentic, factual, and standing in front of people that are loud and uninformed while trying to do the work of governance. I have been in this county for 27 years. I know mostly the ROE, the education arm of the county board, but it's always been a county that I can rely on. I want to thank you for that, and I will continue to be somebody that supports this board. Thank you for supporting the rest of us out here in the county. Take it easy. Thank you.
Speaker is Sylvia Schrage, please.
Good morning. My name, as you stated, is Sylvia Schragi, and I had items to speak on both agenda and non-agenda. So this is non-agenda items.
Ms. Schragi, could you get closer to the microphone, please?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Can you hear that better? Okay. So on the non-agenda items, I was glad to not see the tree ordinance on today's agenda, which had so many issues that people brought up. And I did want to mention one thing there that nobody mentioned at the last meeting. The portion where it says that the county and the public utilities are exempt from following this huge burden they were going to impose on other people. And then it said, in addition, they will attempt to follow the spirit of the law. They will attempt to follow the spirit of the law. While they put a huge burden and they were attempting to put a penalty of $7,500 on people who didn't do what they requested. So that to me is very lame to say that you will attempt to follow the spirit of the law. And it's Pharisaical, putting burdens on people that you're not going to follow yourself. So that is a non-agenda item. Another non-agenda item is really non-agenda because, as Frank said, people who clicked on the agenda package could not see the exhibit A. That was a separate exhibit, a separate attachment. So it seemed to have been thrown in there late in the game, and people are not able to look at it. I did look at it, and I wanted to say that some of the concerns that I have is that you are removing access. People who sign up to speak online have to sign up by 12 p.m. the day before. And people who have to sign up to speak in person have to sign up between 8:30 and 8:45. Well, today I came here before 8:45. The list was not even here to sign up. So this is going to be a little problematic to implement. And it's also against equity and inclusion. If you live far from Batavia and you have to be here at 8:30 to sign up because you can't sign up online, and it is not allowing somebody from 12 p.m. yesterday to today to sign up online, I don't think you're really helping dialogue with the county. So I would really request that this not be approved as is, and that the reduction in opportunity to sign up online be removed. Those are on, additionally, as a non-agenda item, I consider it that you need to look at overall proofreading of everything thrown at people here. So the resolution on, I'm just talking about proofreading, not the content. The one on pads, the 6 whereas says at the end of it, and click or tap here to enter text. Click or tap here to enter, that you're voting on that whereas. And then the 7th whereas says, we.
You're
Those are-
up. I'm sorry, you are up. Time
Okay.
is up. Thank you. ma'am.
Okay, you need to read these before you put them to the vote. So the 7th whereas.
Excuse me. Your
Sure.
time is up, ma'am. Thank you
Okay.
so much. I appreciate that.
You're
And
welcome.
Thank you for your proofreading.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, that does conclude our public comment. I would like to request just a slight change. PIO would like to go first before the monthly financials. So I'm sure she'll remarks will be brief.
I did have a PowerPoint presentation. Brief PowerPoint, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Just to let you know, outreach going on. We do have a Kane County blood drive going on June 17th. That's inside Building A here. We got a good turnout at Geneva Township when we had to move it, and we had a good turnout the last time we had it last year. So they wanted to come back for the American Red Cross. Next slide. The Illinois Tollway will be here on July 17th inside Building A. They served over 100 people the last time that they were here, so they wanted to come back as well. And I just today confirmed that the Secretary of State's office will have their mobile unit here on September 13th. And that's important because they are required to have a real ID by May 2025. Next slide. We are starting our parade season. So the first one is Swedish Days, which is June 23rd, 1 p.m. Mr. Roth. I hope you can all volunteer to walk with us. It's always a really good time to see everybody. Next slide. I did appear on the radio station in Elgin to promote Kane County, their services and programs, and I was grateful for that opportunity. I was also just invited to be part of the Why Chicago PR Marketing Roundtable, which is part of World Business Chicago, which is part of the Greater Chicagoland Economic Partnership that we're a part of. So I'll be taking part in a Zoom meeting there. Next slide. And then these are just some of the highlights of Kane County Connects, which continues to get emails from people interested in signing up. We do get a lot of positive feedback from people about the stories that we put in there. So I'm grateful for that. We continue to grow the subscription. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Julie? Okay, keep up the good work. Thank you. And interested in hearing more about that forum that you'll be participating with. Yeah, Business Chicago, exceptionally good organization. All right, Ms. Hopkinson.
Hello, I'm going to focus my comments today on the fiscal 2025 budget process. The monthly report should be in your packets. I've got just 2 slides, if you can put them on the screen. Just wanted to go over, we're midway through the budget process. Wanted to go over the budget priorities that were set forth by the board for the fiscal 2025 budget process. So the budget priorities that were given were to develop a lean budget. As a reminder, the county board's authority is the county board has the authority to determine the amount of county funds that may be budgeted. The budget process itself, 2 key things that I want to highlight. One was to develop the best possible estimates of dollar amounts in the budget. Specifically as it relates to salaries and wages, the best possible way to develop the best possible estimates of the amount of county funds to be budgeted for salaries and wages is to use salary data. And we are using 2 types of salary data. We are looking at historical trends, budget to actual trends. Have departments spent their budget in prior years? And as you recall, we used that historical trend information as well as we went around to various county offices and departments and spoke with them, talking to them that we needed to develop a lean budget. And one of the ideas that came out of those conversations, which was built into the county board budgetary guidance for 2025, was to help use position data to develop salaries and wages, and specifically as it relates to vacant positions, because there's always a vacant position, right? Somebody leaves, somebody new gets has to replace that position. But the guidance was that there would be a cap on the amount of vacant positions, not from the standpoint of trying to control the positions, but trying to use the data, the position salary data to develop a budget. And let me just talk about that a little further because I know it can get confusing. So oftentimes when you put together a budget and you have a vacant position, it takes months and months to fill that position. So you have unspent dollars. The larger departments in the county typically will have more vacant positions because there's more turnover throughout the year. And so they go for months without filling vacant positions. So they're more likely to not spend their entire budget, which is why we developed in consultation with talking to various offices and departments, this concept of will help develop a better budget estimate by capping the dollars associated with vacant positions. So that guidance was developed back in February, and we have been applying it throughout our budget process. And we also developed a budget calendar. That budget calendar had a deadline of May 17th for all the departments to submit their vacant position requests. And then we also had a deadline for them to submit all of their contractual services, commodities, and capital requests. We had hoped that at the first week of June, all of that data would be in. We have a few departments and county offices that have not provided us all of the information yet. They're still working on it. We are working with them. We also have a small group of elected offices and county department, one county department, that are requesting more dollars than allowed by the budget guidelines that were set forth by the board. So we've got some back and forth going on that. And today, and let me just show one more slide. Just kind of a history. This is total county salaries, all funds, all the funds across the county. If you just look at the last 4 years, 2020, the budget was about 6% higher than what was actually spent. This is just salaries, not benefits. 2021, it was about 4% higher. 2022, about 5.5% higher. 2023, about 3.5% higher. So we typically are budgeting more than we need for salaries, which is why these guidelines are part of the budgetary process. So my point in bringing this all up today is just to confirm with the board that the board's 2025 budget guidelines are still the guidelines that the county should be following. So that is a question.
Mr. Ford, yeah.
I can wait till she's done. So
Oh, you can wait. I think we should wait until you're done. Are you done at this
Yes.
point? And should that, well, I'm not quite sure if that question should be addressed as appropriate to finance and let finance get, have that discussion. Because we can have that discussion here, but according to our county code, that is the job of the finance committee to make that recommendation to all of you. So I believe the question is, do we still want to follow the policy that was set forth by the board so that finance can know? Yes, Mr. Berman.
Berman here. As chairman of the finance committee, we as a board early this year approved this budget process. So therefore, we as a board should totally support this budget process, not just those that voted for it, but all of us. That's the way we work. And I think that our duty as county board, you know, we don't really have a whole lot of things we can do. We don't have a whole lot of power. The thing we have is the ability to set a budget. And I think what we want to do is set the most accurate estimate of what our revenue is going to be and what our expenses are going to be. And I think that our budget guidelines give us the ability to do that. And I think not only do we as a board need to support it, but also each department within the county needs to support it. So I think that's, as we go into the future, I hope that we're all supporting what we decided on earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Ford, you had a comment.
yes, Madam Chair, I was just wondering with the salaries that would show the total salaries in the county, do those number also include those salaries that are paid for totally by grant, 100% by grant? Are those numbers included in there also?
Yeah, that's all salaries.
All right. And I really would like to see those spelled out separately because they're not affecting the general budget.
So you're saying they're not impacting the general fund.
Right.
So that would have to be a recommendation that is taken up by the finance committee and brought forward.
Sounds good.
Mr. Berman, you recognize, do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree.
That'll be for future discussion. Mr. Surges, you had your hand up.
Madam Chair, I don't have a statement prepared on this, but 18 months ago-ish, you and I and Ralph and Jamie and Dale all met and in advance of the challenges budgets had coming, tried to implement some guidelines that would help us identify, reach a point, stay within a scope, and each committee, at least at Human Services, at least at Finance, we've tried to manage and stay within those scopes. And I think that Kathy is beginning, at least in our committee at Human Services, we gave a very impassioned plea, allow us to try some of these things. And if we need to go back and tweak them later, we shall. And I believe we are seeing some of those tweaks as they come forward. But I don't believe the intent was ever to tweak so much that the signals that we're giving back to Kathy and the finance team begin to be unclear. And I might be hearing this wrong, but I think what you're saying is the water has become a little bit muddy and you're not sure what the direction that we're giving you or the charge that we're asking you, because when we start in a path, we then wander from that path. Am I mistaken on this in some way?
No, that is what I'm saying. The board gave guidance for the 2025 budget. And we've had massive, tremendous support and cooperation for the vast majority of county offices and departments. And we have a few that are pushing back. And we're trying to finish. And I need to be able to communicate back to those departments that what the board set forth was serious.
And I thank you for that. And Madam Chair, I did have a second point that my colleague, Mr. Ford, brings up. But part of these tweaks, part of these ongoing discussions have manifest into a bucket, if you will, of conversations regarding general fund versus grants. And it's a very legitimate conversation to have that I think we've all, from an uneducated perspective, it's easy to give a very knee-jerk response, but then as you get into it, the weeds get a little bit thick. But we have so many departments that are grant funded, from KDOT to the health department to, the list goes on, that I think that if we remove the guidelines, that's almost an unmanageable task. On the other hand, I totally get the argument. And I think that that conversation shouldn't be done in the back room or walking on eggshells. We should just legitimately have that conversation and kind of figure that out a little bit. Just for what it's worth. I think that when we have these conversations, again, it becomes an unclear signal to the department heads and to the staff and team. And that is our charge as a 24-member board to set policy on that. And if this for the first time is saying, hey, we've reached this apex, we should in earnest have those discussions and just figure it out. And I'm not suggesting that there's a right or wrong answer, but I am suggesting that the conversation has merit. So just for what it's worth, ma'am.
I would agree. Yes, sir.
That was very delicately.
Was that okay?
Well, that was nice. Yeah. Mr. Berman, Mr. Ford, Mr. Surges have all made points that I agree with. It's a delicate dance, if you will. The word guidance came up a few times in there, and I think that's an important concept. Kathy and Jamie Labrillo have both worked tirelessly to try to add some structure to this and some guidance to this. But as Cliff just said, at the end of that comes setting the policy. And that happens here. That doesn't come from HR or from the finance department. That happens here. And we have to be sensitive to all the things that they're trying to accomplish. A Herculean effort was put into the internal equity study. But that's really only, to me, in my opinion, that's really only half of the story that we need. The external actually shows you, or hopefully will show us, what you're competing with outside of Kane County, which is where we lose quality people to, or, have to try to attract people from. So we're missing a lot of information still to do this. And then to Mr. Ford's point, Mr. Sturgis, there are a lot of, there are grant funded positions. There are special revenue funds that in transportation, for example, don't come from the general fund. So we've been engaged in a lot of these conversations. Kathy, to her credit, didn't single us out and say that, one of the problem children is transportation pushing back, but it is.
Actually,
So
no.
it's all right, Kathy.
Okay.
We're having, it's an ongoing conversation and we're trying to work through it. So we're getting there, but it's not easy. And we have to respect both sides of it, but the policy part, to your point, Cliff, really happens here. So if we need more discussion, then we do that, but that's so.
And we've got one more. Ms. Molina, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank Kathy for seeing the budget process in a different view. We've noticed I think it's gone before 4 years past. We've been over budgeting departments and we need to try something better. I mean, we're budgeting for vacant positions that are vacant for years and years and years. And because of that, we are constantly looking at these external, at the end of the year, we have more money than we needed, that we budgeted for. And some departments get to keep that money, and I don't think that's fair. I think we have to have a clearer view of what this county actually needs and how much money we need to continue to fund this county as a whole. I know there are issues with the elected officials, and I don't want to get into that right now, but at the end of the day, it is our board's purview to determine what the budget is for the county. So I think we need to stay on task. This is new for everybody. We're going to have some people aren't going to like it, and that's fine. We're going to keep working at it, but I think that we need to try something different, and this is what different is. And different isn't always, something that everybody likes, but until we see a different way of budgeting, then we're going to understand how to do it better. And instead of doing the same thing over and over again that we've been doing for the past few years, I think we just need to just take a step back and try this and see how this works. It might not be the best solution, but it's a different solution that I think we need to do.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Berman.
Berman again. A budget is our best estimate. That's what a budget is. And what we're trying to do is to pare it down to the point where it is estimate. But that does not mean that we don't change our budget during the year. We modify our budget every time we have an opportunity that presents itself that requires us to change the budget, increase it. And that's true with hiring people. If a department decides that they have that person and need that person and can justify the hiring of that person, there's no reason they can't come to the county board and ask for additional revenue to cover that position. So look at it as our best estimate that can change during the year. So let's all get together and say that, hey, this is going to be our budget. And if we come up with hiring an individual, that come to the board and ask for approval.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be talking to you soon, Dale. On behalf of.
That's fine.
There's we'll set up appointments for him. He can meet upstairs. All right. Kathy, anything else? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As always, thank you very much for your diligence, keeping us straight. Is there any old business? Seeing none, I see none online. Is there any new business? I have one matter, if I may take that liberty. I've asked you it's been about 7 weeks ago. And some of you think you have responded to give me as your role as a chair of a committee to give me your aspirations, your goals for next fiscal year. This may be new for you, that this has not been done before, I've gotten several responses from some of you, and I'm grateful for that. If you would like to, at this time, convene with your committee and ask them what your committee would like to achieve, just one or two goals at the most, please. Big goals. What's your achievement? What are your hopes that your committee will achieve for next budget year? If you could get that to me as quickly as possible, because that'll go into our budget as well. So I'd look forward to getting that. And please, if you feel free, or reach out to your committee members and do so, and give me those comments directly after your committee meets. That would be much appreciated. And I think it'd be an interesting and robust conversation for you all to have planned for the action of your committee for next year. The next thing I'd like to just, since we're on the sense of budgeting, we had a very small travel budget last year for the board. And right now there is only several $100s left in that budget for any of your additional expenses. So I will be increasing it. Of course, I will be presenting it to you for your approval. But I will be increasing it if continues to have board members who would like to travel to different conferences. And we're also going to be going forward in the near future to put together a position, and I've asked Mr. Sturgis to help lead that through his committee about what things the board can expect, board members can expect as contributions to your district and to your service from the county board. Laptop, phone, et cetera, et cetera. There's a variety of things to look at, and we'll put together a position for that along with travel, which is why I'm bringing that up. So that'll be something that would be given as part of your board packet when you come to the new board elected in December. So we'll be bringing that. Mr. Sturgis will be putting that through his committee for a discussion. And thank you, sir, for doing that. So that's my new business. At this point, you can hear my voice is starting to go, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to be turning over the consent agenda to Mr. Tepe, but he has asked me to guide through the American Rescue Plan because he would like to talk about an item on that. So after that, I will turn the meeting over then to Mr. Tepe until we get towards the end. So Mr. Sanchez, it's your turn, please. Jared, are you there? All right, yes, why don't we get back to him? Can you text him and ask him where he's at?
Madam Chair, I think I'd be happy to motion these forward.
That would be gracious, thank you.
Item number 1 under the American Rescue Plan, resolution authorizing the use of state and local fiscal recovery funds to fund building toward the future project for public action to deliver shelter pads of Elgin. Do you want these individually?
Well, we have, you motion them all together.
Okay.
And then you read through them.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
my objection is to number 2. I wish to address the second item on this list. The rest of them I have no reason to discuss, so.
So how would you like to handle that? Just go to number 2 at this moment, or do you want me to?
It's
read
off
them?
consent for this item, for this grouping.
Okay.
Yes, excuse me, we'll have our parliamentarian.
Yes, Shepro.
Microphone. By your mouth.
Is that better? Yes.
Yeah.
I think given the brief discussion, a motion to consider and possibly approve items 1, 3, 4 through 9, with the exception of 2, could be made, and then the number 2 could be addressed separately.
Okay.
So move, Sturgis.
Caius, second.
Thank you.
And our practice has been in matter of finances, then you'll read aloud the
Resolutions.
the title and the amounts where known.
So you just read the title through as we go through. So you'll be reading items 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Right, and I will not be able to see that.
Do you have
Ern,
it?
if you can see those, go ahead.
It's online.
Jared, are you there?
Jared, can you present the?
I am,
article?
Madam Chair.
All right.
Go. All yours, Big Ed.
It's your turn. We've moved forward. We've removed item number 2. So please read 1 through 9, except for number 2, please.
All right, 1 second, and I apologize. I have multitasking today. And
We'd
the
like-
agenda.
We'd appreciate your focus.
So I apologize. Which one was removed? Item 2?
Yes.
Okay, so the first one is authorizing the use of SLURF to fund the building toward the future project for public action to deliver shelter of Elgin, pads of Elgin. And that and number 2 on this slew of resolutions are new projects that have come to us from external sources. The following resolutions are all internal and related to building management largely. So I'll go through those quickly. Resolution 3, authorizing the use of SLURF for 2023 HVAC improvements at County Clerk's Office. Item 4, HVAC improvements at the court services. Item 5, we are actually authorizing the use of some of our revenue recoupment funds for capital, to send money to capital projects for the exterior envelope pipe chase improvement at the county jail. Item 6, also authorizing the use of revenue recoupment funds to go to capital projects to fund the ADA accessible ramp at the Adult Justice Center. Item 7, as a Sally port for HVAC system improvements at the county jail. Item 8, we are amending a previous resolution just to authorize a budget adjustment for the health department's behavioral health project. They're just moving some money from contractual to payroll, I believe. Item 9, we are amending the agreement with our third-party consultant, Ernst & Young. We're going to have them more closely involved with the procurement process for all of these big building management projects that we're authorizing. And so we need to increase the total amount of administrative costs that we have on file, on record with Ernst & Young by about $220,000, because we have to have all administrative costs budgeted and accounted for by July, I believe July 1st of this year, according to the internal rule or the final rule for the American Rescue Plan Act. So that $220,000, even though we're increasing it on their overall amount that will go up to, those costs, those additional costs that we're going to incur for procurement will actually come out of those projects themselves. So we're not, in the end, increasing how much we're spending on our administrator. We're just creating an opportunity so that they can help us more closely with some of these projects that previously they weren't going to be as involved with. And I'll entertain any questions. I know staff is there if you have any specific questions about these projects.
Are there any questions for any of these items, exempting number 2? Yes, sir.
Ken, did you require the dollar figures be read or not? I have no problem with the way it was read.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other comments on this? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll, except for item 2.
Point of order, this is to approve all except number 2. correct?
That's what I just said, yes.
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Guys, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez,
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Item number 2, please.
May I make the motion to approve this to be put on consent agenda, even though we're discussing it separately?
Well, it has to be voted upon for that to happen.
Oh, it's a motion to Shipro.
To move to consent.
I would treat it as a motion to approve and forward to the county board.
Would agree.
There's a second.
If there's is there a second on this item?
Caius,
Molina,
second.
seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Caius. All right. Yes, Mr. Tepe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sometimes to me, certain things just are not right. And this one to me is not right. And I think we should be turning it down. As you all know, I'm a major proponent of mental health, and I was very involved in the initial passing of the mental health referendum in Elgin Township. There have been various things associated with the proper funding of that, which has finally been resolved by the state assembly and Friday night's actions. And if signed by the governor, it will allow Elgin Township to again levy the proper amount for their particular township. However, when they initially did this with the funding for this year's levy, they only funded 1/3 of the amount of the levy that could have been funded. So they are not looking for funds associated with that. They're looking for $500,000 in order to start this initial funding associated with their mental health board. But at the same time, based upon a FOIA request that I put in December and got from Elgin Township in January, okay, they have over $3 million in their funds available. So Elgin Township could quite easily loan $500,000 to the mental health board if that's what they want to do. And then the mental health board could properly fund things and pay Elgin Township back. So in my mind, these funds that we have for ARPA are things that should really benefit the entire county, not just one township. And they're the kinds of things that should be administered, again, for items that will really affect everybody in the county, whatever we feel appropriate. We have more than enough projects to cover the funds that are available. So this $500,000 could readily be put to use for other activities rather than funding Elgin Township, which in my opinion has the complete ability to fund this on their own and to repay Elgin Township if that's what the mental health board so desires. So I am against this particular resolution, and I urge all of you to join me in voting against it. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Mr. Kenyon.
Kenyon, I am in favor of it. May was Mental Health Month. And mental health is the key to many of our problems. Housing, addiction, unemployment. And we can't be cheap here. We have to take care of our people. Over 1/3 of the people live in the Elgin Township area of the county, that is. And mental health is too important to walk away from. I understand the funds that Mr. Tepe speaks of have been committed to other things. And I hesitate to say this, keep partisan politics out of it, Vern. Keep it out of it.
Not partisan.
This mental health is for all of us, Republican, Democrat, Independent.
Thank you, Mr. Kenyon. Any other comments on this issue?
Madam Chair Sanchez.
Yes, Mr. Sanchez.
Yes, I can understand potential skepticism on this resolution simply because there has been a bit of a storied past with the Elgin Township Mental Health Board. But in having this application come forward and having the ARPA team, the required due diligence and research that we have to do, I'm very confident that this money will be well spent. I even spoke personally with the Elgin Township Mental Health Board Administrator, Amanda Teachout. She assured me that they are well underway in their process of developing a grant program that will enable them to utilize these funds in time. Obviously, we have the deadline of December 31st of this year to begin spending money on a project, and Elgin Township's Mental Health Board is perfectly positioned to do that. I know there's the comment that, the Elgin Township Board has money that they could make available to the Mental Health Board. I see that really is just far outside of any relevance for our board. That's internal politics. We have to look at these applications as they are. When we opened up our community support grant program, if we would have told all of those organizations, hey, if you can get funding, from somebody else, from a level of government or some other organization, state grant or whatever, you should do that first before we'll even consider it. We wouldn't have been able to spend that $4 million out in the community like we did. So I'm fully in favor of this project because I know the money will be well spent and it's going to a very good cause. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other comments on this? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll. And this is
Allen?
Number two.
Allen, I.
Bates? Bates, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis?
Davis, yes.
Ford?
Ford, yes.
Gums?
Gums, yes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Lewis? Lewis, yes. Linder?
Linder, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez?
Sanchez, yes.
Strathman?
Strathman, yes.
Surges?
Surges, yes.
Tepe?
Tepe, no.
Passes.
All right, that does pass. All right,
Ready for me?
I am ready for you to, sir, to take over for a little while. Thank you.
Okay. Without objection, I will
Make it
take
so.
over the meeting. Okay,
Make it so.
thank you. Next is agriculture, Mr. Kenyon.
In the agriculture, we've approved 2 more applicants through Farmland Protection Program, the Rue Farm and the James Long Farm. These are merely added to the list, so we would vote on them again when funds are available.
8 seconds.
I'm sorry, was that a motion? Okay, wait second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen?
Allen, I.
Bates?
Bates, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis?
Davis, yes.
Ford?
Ford, yes.
Gums? Miss Gums? Caius?
Yes.
Kenyon? Lewis? Lewis, yes. Linder?
Linder, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez? Mr. Sanchez? Strathman?
Strathman, yes.
Surges?
Yes.
Tepe?
Tepe, yes.
Passes with 2 away.
County Development, Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make the motion for this resolution amending the Housing and Community Development Consolidated Plan. These funds are from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD. This is a minor adjustment for priorities and strategies identified by HUD. This is part of the 5-year plan that started in 2020 up to 2024. This update plan, the funding for it from the federal government is $4,370,413.
Davis, second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen?
Allen, I.
Bates?
Bates, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis?
Davis, yes.
Ford?
Ford, yes.
Gums? Miss Gums? Looks like she left. Caius?
Caius, yes.
Kenyon?
Yes.
Lewis? Lewis, yes. Linder?
Linder, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez? Okay. Strathman?
Yes.
Surges?
Yes.
Tepe?
Tepe, yes.
Passes with 2 away.
Energy and Environmental, Ms. Bates.
I would like to introduce a resolution adopting a Kane County Climate Action Implementation Plan. I would move and ask for a second.
Caius, second.
Okay, a second, any discussion, please? Mr.
Surges.
Surges.
And you know what, I'm not comfortable with this yet, and I'll be abstaining on this. And Mavis, you've done a wonderful job of advocating for your beliefs on this. And I do want to give a shout out to the young lady last night who sent me the text, a friend of my daughter, 26-year-old, sent a big, long text message in total support of this, and I sent that to Mavis at 11 o'clock last night, and I thought that was outstanding. However, I'm just a little bit confused as to what we're trying to do here. Again, there's been lots of conversation amongst us 24 saying, is this a guideline or is this something that becomes a mandate? When I went through my packet over the weekend and then again last night, the 180 pages wasn't available. The link that was on our information was to the website, not to the action plan itself. So I am just not in a position yet to do this. And I do have some concerns with meeting housing requirements and building requirements by 2030. I don't know that that's a realistic expectation. I mean, there are things that are already in the planning mechanism for, now for apartment complexes in our area where the developers are already saying, what are you talking about? We're already in. There's no way we could modify this by 2030. So I don't know that giving that guideline is a fair, expectation, but hey, Cliff, it's not anything that has any teeth to it. It's just a guideline. It's not a mandate. So it's just a little ambiguous to me. I'm not comfortable in moving it forward yet. And I'll be abstaining while I bring myself up to speed.
Mr. Davis.
Again, well said, Mr. Surges. Kane County has a long history of being a leader. I remember when we did, development and transportation have worked together along with all of the departments to create the 2020 plan, the 2030 plan. So I applaud this effort. And Mavis, you've done a lot of great work here. As Cliff said, I'm not sure it's quite ready for its close-up. I think it needs a little more refining. One of our speakers, Frank, today mentioned, if it's only going to be guidance or recommendations, say so. I like that thought.
Great goal.
I think this has got a lot of really great ideas and goals in it. I think it needs a little more work. I'll be anxious to see it when it comes back. I'm a no today, but I'm looking forward to seeing it again in a refurbished format.
Thank you.
Mr. Kenyon.
Kenyon, my friends in agriculture and myself are very fearful of this. It may be a guideline, but it's just one step in a direction. We're not sure. Well, I can say that I believe what we spent on it was money not well spent. Not well spent. We could have spent it on housing, mental health, anything. But anyway, it wasn't our money. The government gave it. So I'll be voting no.
Ms. Bates.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the hard work that my staff and the members of Kane County have put into this. Over 80 people helped write this. You've heard what's gone into this plan, the survey, the work of the committee over many months. Some people want this to have more teeth. Some people have absolutely been adamant that this must be a plan that is recommendational only. So that's what we have worked hard to do. There, as it states in the executive summary, during the committee of the whole meeting, the county board asked that the language in the plan be reviewed to ensure that the plan is recommending actions, but does not contain language that implies requirements or enforceable activities. The intent of the plan is to encourage and support actions on a community basis. Staff has reviewed the document and made changes that were appropriate to ensure the plan reflects the direction from the county board and the committee of the whole meeting. I ask you to vote for this, to vote yes. It is a plan. It can be changed. It can be amended as time goes on, as we need it, if we feel like there is a need for changes. This is a much needed plan. It will show the leadership of Kane County. Thank you.
Mr. Berman?
Berman, this is a plan. I think that the plans change and have the ability to be changed. I think if we had come up with some plans 100 years ago, we wouldn't be near the problems that we have today. So let's approve a plan and then modify that plan as we go along, as it proves what we need to do. My comment.
Okay, I got it. Ms. Lewis?
Thank you. Excuse me. I am not on the environmental committee, but I make it a point to go every month because I find it extremely educational. And I have truly learned a lot about things that are destroying our climate and many things that we can be doing. So I look at this as guidelines. I look at it as a way to bring attention, as a way to start changing some things so we can do some reversal on what's going on. So I'm definitely in favor of this, and I'd like to thank Mavis and her whole staff for kind of putting themselves out there and just keep pushing on this even when they took some resistance for it. So I will be voting yes.
Thank you. Mr. Linder?
Thank you. I think this affords us a unique opportunity. We have to have a place to start. And quite honestly, nothing in this climate action plan is cast in stone. But to try to do something this comprehensive and cast it in stone would be impossible. This gives us an opportunity to have these conversations one by one as the issues come up. We'll look at what we had as an initial goal and determine whether that is realistic, whether that's doable, and then move on approving or disapproving or setting aside those things one by one. So we need to approve the plan so that those things don't just skate through. But we need to understand that not every element of the plan is likely to become a final ordinance or resolution.
Okay, let's have a roll call. I'm sorry, Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just trying to listen to everybody, and I have, gotten phone calls. I do believe we need to pay attention to climate change and make moves, or at least look at if there's something we can do to make sure we're not doing anything we shouldn't be doing. The one thing that I've been concerned about when the first plan came about is just like what happened with the with electric cars is I think at one time the state was looking at charging owners of electric cars like $1,000 for their sticker. And we just had a mandate to pass a resolution that's going to force new housing, including multi-units, to be ready for charging stations, which we don't understand or know what the cost is going to be for those. So for me, as long as it's not forcing any increase or any charges to our residents, I think at this point, we should at least move this forward to the full board to hear everybody's thoughts on it.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's do a roll call.
Allen?
Allen, aye.
Bates?
Bates, yes.
Berman?
Berman, yes.
Davis?
Just no.
Ford?
Ford, yes.
Gums?
Gums, yes.
Caius?
Caius, yes.
Kenyon?
No.
Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Linder?
Linder, yes.
Molina?
Molina, yes.
Sanchez? No, okay. Strathman?
Strathman, yes.
Sturgis?
Sturgis abstain.
Abstain. And Deppie.
Deppie, yes.
Passes 2 noes, 1 abstain.
Okay. Finance Department, Mr. Berman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have 28 resolutions in the finance I would move for approval of those 28 unless there are some that you would like to select.
26.
Um,
Mr. Berman, there's 26.
Mr. Berman, I see 26. Just to be,
26, right.
okay.
Sorry.
Point of information. I believe all the PEVs have to be voted on off agenda during the regular meeting because it's a roll call vote for the 3 PEVs. So I don't know if we want to take those 3 PEVs out at this point.
All right.
I was about to suggest that.
Which items are those? Ms.
24.
Marlene?
24, 25, and 26.
Okay. So Mr. Berman, you might want to move items 1 through 23.
Yes.
Linder seconds.
Who's
I'm
second?
going to offer an amendment to number 13,
Uh,
printed up and given to you. It's in reference to hiring a consultant.
that means we would need to remove, okay?
Move
Yeah.
13.
Okay, so the motion, the initial motion is to approve items 1 through 23, excluding item number 13. So items number 13, 24, 25, and 26 are not included in the motion. Is there a second? Board
Second,
seconds?
Linder.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Do we read them?
Yeah, normally I read them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Uh,
Please. Please stop the roll call.
And read quick.
Resolution number 1, approving April 2024 claims paid $18,329,263.08. 2 is a resolution amending the growing for Kane County Fund fiscal year 2024 budget account for the Land Transfer and Navigator Grant Program, a grant. Number 3, a resolution authorizing the AOIC modernization funding allocation to $272,278.57. 4 is a resolution creating a special revenue fund and budget for DUI court within court services, $141,522. That's a grant from IDOT. Item 5 is a resolution accepting fiscal year 25 firearms safety safe storage strategies, $48,700 grant. 6 is a resolution authorizing acceptance of the Illinois Department of Public Health LHD Repository Surveillance and Outbreak Response RSORG-25 grant, $1 million. 7 is a resolution authorizing opioid response community implementation project line item transfer to the coroner of $30,000. 8 is a resolution emergency appropriation and budget adjustment request for amending resolution number 24-076 for $100,000. 9, a resolution authorizing agreement for Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and Trade Adjustment Act programs for program year 2024, $1,771,292. 10, a resolution authorizing judicial facility construction funds for general construction services with MRRW Construction bid number 23-032, $449,790. 11, a resolution authorizing MRRW Construction Services for the Judicial Technology Modernization ARPA project, bid number 23-032 of $1,153,000. 12 is a resolution authorizing contract for psychiatric service for the Juvenile Justice Center, $41,600. Item 14, a resolution authorizing contract for Kane County Emergency Communication for the uninterruptible power supply UPS system replacement with installation RFP number 24-031-DK, $64,919.89. 15, a resolution authorizing the contract for Kane County Emergency Communication for professional services for mental health and therapy counseling, $2,480. 16 is a resolution authorizing agreement with DocuSign Incorporated for electronic signature software and services, $90,938.80. 17 is a resolution authorizing interlocal purchasing system, TIPS, National Purchasing Cooperative Agreement, no charge.
Dale, let me interrupt you for just a second, but rest your voice. Just a quick comment. Number 17 is one of those very innocuous kind of things that slips by, but when I read that one could be very valuable to us, that national procurement ability to share. And there's a lot of dollar savings potentially there and it's one of those that you don't notice. Sorry, go ahead, Dale.
I think it's good to recognize that, especially the pluses, not
It
the
doesn't
minuses.
really stand out, but it's actually, could be very valuable.
Thank you. Item 18, a resolution authorizing purchase of technology product solutions and related services for the Information Technology Department with Carasoft Technology Corporation through Omnia Partners, contract number 23-6692-01, $300,000. 19 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of 2 vehicles for the Office of Emergency Management. For somehow I did not include the dollar amount. 20 is a resolution authorizing the job title and pay grade changes.
Excuse me, it's $99,986.
Thank you very much, Madam. 20, a resolution authorizing job title and pay grade changes for the Information Technology Department of $19,986. 20, resolution authorizing, 21, a resolution authorizing pay adjustment for equity within a pay grade for a promotion in the Building Management Department. 22 is a resolution authorizing the issuance of a request for proposal for external compensation and analysis and review of position grading, $150,000. 23 is an ordinance creating Illinois residency requirements for the county employees. And that's all under the first.
Discussion on any of these items? Roll call, please.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Guns,
Guns, yes.
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Sanchez, Strathman,
Yes.
Yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes.
And I move for approval of item 13, a resolution amending the contract with Ellen Camps to provide additional food and agricultural product consulting services. That was an increase from $170,000 to $290,000.
Kenyon seconds.
Oh, our legal department has given us an amendment to this to make it more sense. It now be resolved that the chairman of Kane County Board is authorized to amend the contract with Ellen Kent not to exceed $290,000. And you have this printed up here. It's just to try
Yeah,
to
but-
make more sense of what we're doing.
So is that a motion to amend?
Yes.
Search
of
seconds.
Was there a motion to pass?
Actually, the motion was amending the contract.
Yes.
So this is the amendment to the contract. Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe Mr. Kenyon's motion to amend would be to add the language in red to the resolution, as well as to attach the Exhibit A to the resolution. So County Board would be voting on approving the amendment at full County Board.
Okay, so we
highlighted
have,
yellow.
just so I understand, we have a motion amending a contract, okay? That has been seconded by Mr. Kenyon, right? And now we have an amendment to the amendment, okay, specifying specific language.
The motion, I believe, is to approve or to pass along the resolution amending the contract. And then Mr. Kenyon's amendment is to the resolution to do 2 things: to add language to the resolve clause as well as attach the correct version of the contract amendment.
Need a second to Mr. Kenyon's motion to amend. Mr. Surges, okay? Any discussion? Clear as mud, right?
Yeah.
For the amendment.
Okay,
You could pass.
This is the amendment.
this is a roll call to vote on the amendment to the amendment.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Yes, Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Steffi, yes.
Amended?
Okay, now, we have amended the original motion. Any discussion on the original motion
As amended.
as now amended? So we will now vote on the motion as amended. Roll call, please.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford, Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges, Tepe.
Steffi, yes. Mr. Berman,
And item number 24 is a resolution approving county board personal expense voucher reimbursement request, and I move for approval.
second. Ford seconds. Any discussion?
Surges.
Mr. Surges?
You know what? These always, just strike me as unusual and you know what? Sometimes when we speak and when we vote, you try and think, how did I vote on this last time? How did I vote on this 3 years ago? What did I do in this? And I'm thinking that I've been consistent with this, that I would just be so much more comfortable if these were requested and approved in an amount not to exceed before the individual went, rather than say, hey, I did this and y'all just need to approve this. And I think I've been nothing but consistent with this going backwards. And that's not directed at an individual. It's not directed at a department. I just don't see why we can't say somebody from within the committee wants to go do whatever, and the committee says, yes, go ahead and do it. And we move on from there. And I understand there's situations for timing issues and stuff like that, but these just always perplex me when it's our travel. And I just want to voice that. So for what it's worth, and that would be for all, whatever, 3 of them, which is
Okay.
omnibus.
Mr. Berman?
You're correct. There is nothing in any of our guidelines that said this has to be approved beforehand. So the fact is that we could, each of us do whatever we wanted to do and then present it, payment. It'd be nice if we had something that your request they're talking about. I think in most cases in business and the rest of the world, somebody has to approve what you do basically before you do it.
Is that your goal for 2025 then?
That's one of our goals.
Yeah. Bates?
I believe we've started an ad hoc committee to look into reimbursement and that will be part of the job. I think those are good ideas, Mr. Surges.
So you're saying you knew you were going to Dallas before you arrived there?
Tepe here. I'd also like to share my comments. In my opinion, the 24 of us were elected independently, as well as the chairperson. And for us to request that everything be approved in advance, I think would be a bit inappropriate. If we had situations where we felt that somebody was not really following these guidelines, we have the right to not approve those expenses. But I would prefer to trust my fellow board members that they know what they're doing. So that's my personal opinion.
My God,
Be the ad hoc committee.
Mr. Pepe. This is good.
Mr. Kenyon, I would like to point out that you have also done that in the past, very rarely, but it's Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think if this had to go through an approval prior to, it'd be nice if it was short, like just one committee. And also maybe make some people comfortable if there was a way to make not to exceed. And the not to exceed would have to be for local and of course long distance traveling because the prices would be totally different. I don't know if that's can be, reachable, but that would be my thought on it if we did have to make the issue.
And you're on the ad hoc committee, right?
I don't know that. That's not my choice.
Please address the board, to the chair.
Point of order, can we move this along?
You're not recognized.
Not part of, Mr. Chair. Oh, thank you. Never mind.
Ms. Valina.
Thank you, Chair Berman. I'd also like to add for the ad hoc committee who will be reviewing this, to review reimbursement for travel. From what I understand, we don't have a per diem or a set amount of how much can be reimbursed. So say if you take a taxi or an Uber per day, there is no guidelines. So if I decide I want to take a helicopter to Springfield today and I want to get reimbursed for that, there's nothing in the policy saying that I can't. So I think it's really important that we look at all of that when Mr. Surges has that great ad hoc committee he's going to put together.
This is a group of people who bitched about did you take a tollway or not? I mean, I'm just trying to come up with some broad stroke.
All right,
guidelines.
order, please, order, please. Roll call on this resolution.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
That was yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
This is for 24, right?
24.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
Kenyon.
Yeah.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes. Mr. Berman.
And item 25, a resolution approving the county board personal expense voucher reimbursement request for $185.24. I move for approval.
Kaya second.
Guy, second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, this is Deborah Allen.
Yes, Ms. Allen?
I just want to toss in there that the IRS stepped in to try and discourage people from doing the lobster dinners, unless you can get your lobster dinner for under the amount they suggest. And I agree with Ms. Molina, it would be smart of us to have some guidelines that don't include helicopters and so on. But part of the reason that we discuss these is that they happen so rarely. There are 24 of us and we have not allotted a lot of money for travel or conferences because basically it's really difficult to get your act together and go and do this. So when our various members are willing to go and attend these conferences, I would like to support that and say thank you, because that's a tremendous amount of work ahead of time. It's a tremendous, I think, unless you're 20 and full of energy, it's a considered purchase to do a trip like this to try and create a better board. So thank you for doing it.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call, please. On item number 25.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
That was yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Caius,
Kaya, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Strathman, yes.
Surges, Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes.
Mr. Berman.
And item number 26, a resolution approving county board personal expense voucher reimbursement request of $935.37. I move for approval.
Second,
Ford seconds.
Ford seconds. Any discussion? Ms. Molina?
I don't want to single this one out, but our auditor did. I know many of us did receive an email letting us know that the per diem was over the requested. The one policy we do have in place is the per diem amount per day for all employees. Ms. Gums is requesting something over the per diem amount. I asked what would happen if any other employee were to request something over the per diem amount. They wouldn't be allowed to. So I don't like to be one of those do as I say, not as I do people. So I would request that Ms. Gums change her per diem amount to the established allowable that was approved by this county board in October. It's not a huge difference, but I think the optics of us, we ask our employees to go on trips and we give them a set amount of money that they can spend on meals. I think we should be doing the same thing. In October, I welcome us to look at this again, and if we need to change it, we should. But until then, I would just ask Ms. Gums to change her per diem amount to what was requested by the board in October to that amount.
Is that a motion to postpone?
I'm not sure if we can postpone or if she can just request to change the amounts to the allowable that the auditor has given. I guess I'll ask Mr.
Do
Ford.
we have the dollar amounts available to us so we know what the difference was and maybe an amendment can be done now?
I can look at the email that the auditor sent us. So for one, she was off by $14, and the second one, she was off by $81.30.
I would note, as reflected in the resolution, that the statutory requirement is that members of the governing body have their travel expenses approved by a roll call vote of the board. So, I don't know how the committee wants to proceed. The committee, I suppose, could make a motion to amend. The committee could pass this along, have, Ms. Gums provide her input at county board. But that's a legal requirement at the end of the day, is that the county board approves members of the governing bodies reimbursements by a roll call vote. So however you proceed here, this committee, again, you can amend, you can pass it along for the full county board to make a determination.
Thank you for the explanation, Mr. Ford.
So we could make an amendment to reduce this amount by
Mr. Davis?
95, sorry.
Yes.
Davis?
Davis here.
Okay.
It sounds like it would be possible to amend this to reduce the total by $95 and change.
30 cents.
95.30.
And I guess I'm curious as to, hearing from Ms. Gums, if that is acceptable to her. That seems like a reasonable approach.
Gums, Chair.
Ms. Gums?
Thank you. I appreciate the conversation. Whatever you guys want to do is fine with me. I will just notate that my per diem, I went to the grocery store. I believe you all got an email from me. So my per diem for each day, I did not ask for. So in theory, had I asked for the per diem because I was trying to save personal expenses, again, Ms. Allen indicated some of our budgets were not capable of the upfront costs. So I went to the grocery store to save money. I walked. I did all kinds of things, but for this particular day, I splurged and I went to breakfast and dinner. So if you guys want to change it, that's fine. But in theory, my per diem should have been $375, and I asked you for $151. So it's up to you guys.
Okay, any more discussion? Ms. Molina?
I'd like to make a motion to change, to accept the per diem amounts as established by the county board in October 2023. And I think this is a good, a lesson for us that we really do need to have a policy established before we go on travel. Because like Ms. Gums had said, had she known she was given a certain amount for meals per day, she wouldn't have to go to the grocery store for those 4 days. Instead, she could have had meals prepared in whatever way she chose. So I'd like to make that motion to amend the request to reflect the per diem amounts as approved by the county board.
Second?
Surges seconds.
Surge second. Any discussion on the amendment?
Again, I guess the only discussion I would have is that again, our employees are looking at us. We give them a certain amount. I don't think anyone should be above what the policy that as a board member we set. I thank Ms. Gums for going. I think it was, nice for her to be able to take that time to go and learn what she did. But this isn't a personal thing. I just think we need to make sure that we're following our policy. And it's not a large amount, so I don't think either way it looks bad. But I hope you guys agree that, we shouldn't be do as I say and do, and we shouldn't be acting like do as I say, not what I do. So I hope you guys all agree with this amendment.
Ms. Strathman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Ms. Molina on this. I do not see this as a personal issue. I think it's guidelines for all of us, and I think it's good to have this in place. And moving forward, there won't be any questions. So I'm sorry, Ms. Gums is getting hit for the $95, but I think it's a following the rules for all of us.
Okay. Mr. Davis, thank you.
Davis, Chair, with a follow-up question. I did read Ms. Gums' email in where she lays out how she went out of her way to really try to save money. This could be, within the rules and be a greater amount than is being asked for. But I agree with what Ms. Molina has said about we have these guidelines, we have these rules, they're quite clear, and we should adhere to that. My question, I guess, next is for our state's attorney is there a category where we could recognize that $95.30 and still award it to her? Because I think had she done it by the rules and done the per diem, it would have actually cost us more. So the effort was there. I think we need to recognize the rules, as Ms. Molina has pointed out, but not necessarily penalize Ms. Gums the $95.30. So is there an additional category where we separate that out and could still award it to this and move on?
So right now, Mr. Davis, I
Mr.
don't
Ford.
have an answer to that question. What I can, sorry, Mr. I don't have an answer to that question. So one thing I could suggest or say is if you want our office to look into that and see, if that is a legal question, we can do that. This committee could pass this along as it is and then amend it at county board, because again, the statute requires the county board to approve it. So in terms of making changes at exec, again, I'm not here to tell the executive committee how to function, but it's county board approval that matters.
Yeah, you are. You are.
In a sense. So, if that's a question that the committee wants us to look to from a legal perspective, because I understand the auditor just provided her review, we can do that. In that case, then this could be, rather than amending it here and amending it at the board, if the county board wants to amend, it could be amended at county board. That's my opinion on it.
You could do it either way.
Mr. Linder. Mr. Linder, did you hear me?
Mr. Chairman Allen, if you want to come back to Mr.
Ms.
Linder.
Allen, okay.
There is some stuff swirling in the air that I think we are going to be addressing, and that is a number of our executive directors have said that the paperwork and the time necessary to vet all the receipts and make sure the receipts are provided is so burdensome as to not be worth the dollar amount. And they have asked us to rely on what the IRS has set, because that's recognized nationally as relatively fair and amounts rather than to require receipts. So I believe that's still something we're getting ready to decide on, isn't it?
Point of order, the discussion should be on the amendment at hand.
Yes.
Mr. Tepe.
Any other discussions?
Mr. Tepe,
Mr. Surgis?
that's him over there. Where you are.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Used to be Caius. I'm Caius for today.
He left.
On the note of the amendment, I think that as per Mr. Ford's suggestion, that the entire board will have to amend it or have to approve it anyway, that it seems that we're duplicating a service here. We should send it on and then have the entire board vote whether it's amended or not. So I would say no to the amendment.
Thank you. If I understand things correctly, if we amend this, then it's the amended motion that goes
They would see.
before the board.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Shepro?
Yes, as Mr. Ford has pointed out, I mean, the final action is taken by the board. This committee could choose to forward it on without change, recognizing that the full board, unless there's a answer forthcoming from the state's attorney's office, would presumably decide to stay within the guidelines. Alternatively, if this amendment were to pass today, it would be forwarded as amended. And if the state's attorney came back and said there is another way, it could be further amended on the board floor to bring it back to where it was. A non-parliamentary suggestion is that it might be the best idea to do what will involve the least amount of work for the committee. You already now have an amendment on the floor that's been discussed.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Linder, your hand is still up. Okay. No other discussion. Sorry, Mr. Linder. We're going to do a roll call on the amendment.
Allen,
Alan, no.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
This amendment is per Ms. Molina's
For
request.
Ms.
to go
Molina,
with
the amendment is to reduce the amount
To follow
of-
the rules that are in our guidance.
to
Okay.
follow the per diem amount that is in the employee handbook.
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, no.
Gums,
Gums, no.
Caius,
Um,
I
This is on Ms. Gum's request.
can. Gums would not
Abstain.
vote.
Abstain.
Okay, thank you.
Caius,
Caius? No.
Kenyon,
No.
Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Linder,
Linder, no.
Molina,
Yes.
Strathman. Yes. Surges, Pepe,
Steppy, no.
does not pass.
Okay, now let's vote on the original motion. Roll call, please.
Allen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums,
No.
abstain.
I'm sorry, abstain. That's what I meant.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Present.
Strathman.
Yes.
He's away, and Tepe.
Steppy, yes. Okay.
Passes.
Ms. Molina, Judicial and Public Safety.
Thank you, Chair Berman.
Point of clarification, Mr. Chair. Is it still, is the committee's consensus request that the state's attorney look at the issue posed or not?
That was going to be my question was,
I
should we
heard-
still have a,
I heard no request for consensus. Is there a request for consensus?
Davis here?
Okay, and
I-
people feel that we should ask the attorney to look for that?
No.
Okay. Get to work, Mr. Ford.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Ms. Molina.
Thank you, Chairman Berman. The Judicial and Public Safety Committee met on May 16th. I have 3 resolutions I'd like to move to the consent agenda. First one is adopting the 2024 Natural Hazardous Mitigation Plan. The second is adopting the Illinois Emergency Management Mutual Aid System Intergovernmental Service Agreement. And the third is authorizing an agreement to extend the professional healthcare service agreement between the County of Kane and the Kane County Child Advocacy Center and the Board of Trustees of the University of Illinois. I move all 3.
Is there a second?
Request a second.
Davis, second.
To have a second? Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen,
Alan, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Gums. Ms. Gums,
Comes.
she's gone. Okay. Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Tepe.
Steffi, yes.
Passes.
Public Service, Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez, are you there?
We're working on it.
Sanchez, though.
It's not on there yet.
He's been gone.
He is online, so.
He hasn't been able.
Somebody else from Public Service that would like to present this?
That's probably our guy.
Okay, I will present this then. On Public Service, we have an ordinance repealing section 14-2 of the Kane County Code, licenses for raffles, and replacing it with a new section 14-2, licenses for raffles and poker runs. I move this ordinance. Is there a second?
Caius.
Berman seconded. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Allen,
Alan, I, though I don't know what a poker run is.
Bates,
Yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Davis, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
what's left? Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges,
Same.
Tepe.
Steffi, yes.
Passes.
Just for Miss Allen, it's where you donate money and don't get anything back. That's what a poker run is.
Good to
All right, are we done? No, I guess we have to turn this over to Mr. Davis for transportation. Mr. Davis, please.
All right, good morning. And for transportation, we have 13 items that I will present to you, and I will move them and request a second.
Ford seconds.
Thank you. The first one is a little bit outside of the established committee method. It came about with a little bit of a glitch in technology. It was not an attempt to skirt the rules. I have spoken directly with Mr. Berman and Mr. Surges of their, for those respective committees, along with Jamie Labrillo and Madam Chair. What we have is getting rid of the Deputy Chief of Staff position, which has not been filled for a while, and we're going to use those budget dollars and have a maintainer position, which will be filled, which is very helpful to us. So in the future, we would go through the normal channels. This just expedites it, and we've given everybody notice as to what was going on, and I didn't receive any complaint about that. So a little bit out of the ordinary, and not how we'll generally do it moving forward. Number 2 is our Adopt a Highway. We have 1 new applicant and 5 renewals. 3 and 4 are both ride and cane issues where you involve federal dollars and some local sharing to, keep that excellent program going. Number 5, intergovernmental agreement involving Council of Mayors and CMAP, which is a really nice 80-20 match. So over $250,000 from them and less than $64,000 from us to continue that work. Number 6 is our 5-year, the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Program. It's a big list of many, many projects. It will always be a big list. It's always ongoing. More in there than you want me to read to you right now, I assure you. Number 7 is a contract for King County paint pavement marking. And for some reason, I don't have a dollar amount associated with that, in case anybody has it handy. Number 8 is also pavement marking contract, Sugar Grove Township, that's $808,000. Number 9 is contract with Martam Construction for Hughes Road Culvert Improvement and Guardrail, $271,000. Number 10 is approving a contract with Builders Paving LLC. This is with for Batavia Township Road District, $144,444. It includes a little under 26,000 of motor fuel tax funds. Number 11, AC Pavement Striping Company of Elgin, doing work for the Big Rock Township surface treatment project. That is just shy of $444,000, with $126,000 coming from MFT. Number 12 is contract with Peter Baker and Son for Plato Township Road District. That's $276,593, and there's a couple $1,000s of motor fuel tax involved at that. Then number 13 finally is a contract with J.A. Johnson Paving of Arlington Heights for Rutland Township Road District, and that's $162,102, $52,000 coming from MFT. That's what we have.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Allen,
Allen, aye.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Tepe, yes.
Passes.
Okay, that's the end of the consent agenda. Next is there's an ordinance amending section 2-47A, order of business, and section 2-47B, rules of order of the Keene County Code, which has been handed out. May I have a motion and a second to discuss this item?
So moved.
Berman, second.
Berman seconds.
Mr. Chairman.
I believe Mr. Shepro is going to speak first.
Yes, just by way of outlining the options that are available to this committee. Is my understanding, well, first, your rules provide that this committee has oversight of amendments to the rules of order and so forth, as provided. Your rules also provide that if this ordinance is forwarded to the county board, it would be for the first reading. Amendments to the rules of order are not passed on the day of introduction, but deferred. It's my understanding that Madam Chair is interested in having this revisited, perhaps in more detail, either today or prior to its eventual appearance for a vote at the county board. I believe the states, I'll defer to Mr. Ford on this, is that we just want you to be aware of the options. If you deferred it today and considered it at the next month executive committee, you would basically be behind 1 month in having it reach the board. You could, however, if you so desire, forward this to the county board for next Tuesday for the initial introduction, recognizing that there would not be final action taken on that until there had been further discussion at executive committee for July, followed by a second reading at the county board meeting in July. It would be entirely this committee's decision as to how it would wish to proceed.
Okay, Mr. Ford, did you have some comments?
I'm available if there are legal questions about what has been proposed, but I agree with what Mr. Shepro said. The committee can decide to pass this along to full county board, knowing that section 247 or section 252 would require a second reading, or if the executive committee wants to take time to review the proposals and discuss it at next month's executive committee meeting, it's an option you have as well.
Okay. Go ahead, Cliff.
Mr. Tepe, Surges, thank you. You know what? Again, I am not a fan of getting stuff handed to me at the meeting. I am not, I don't understand if these are just housekeeping or substantive or what the need was, but I did go on last night. I couldn't find it. It said see attached. Now it's here this morning. I just want to read it. I mean, I'm not saying I'm opposed or in favor, or I just want to be able to read it. And I didn't have that luxury. So I mean, I would just assume, look at it next month and kind of figure this out. But if somebody could give an overall, what are you trying to do with this? What are the changes for?
Yeah, true.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. You know, essentially, this section 247A, the changes that are outlined would be changes to the county board agenda, moving things around, consolidating public comment, so there's no distinction between off and on agenda. There's also changes in 247A that more clearly contemplate the existence of the consent agenda, as well as another part in the agenda for things that are off consent. The changes in 247B primarily relate to public comment in accordance with the Open Meetings Act and the public comment requirement in the county's code. There are also other changes that deal with updates in state law, or to make our county code consistent with various provisions of state law. So that's a very high level description of what is in front of you. I will say, you know, we've reviewed this for legality. It is consistent with state law. But again, happy if you have specific questions. Again, I understand that
Yeah,
it was available.
I personally, again, and thank you so much. I personally would just like to read it and we can come back. I mean, unless there's some diabolical urgency that we need to do this, can we just read it and bring it back next month? Happy to do it.
I think it's a matter of whether or not it's voted or not voted. I mean, my opinion is that we have a full month to be able, we have more than a full month to be able to look at it and discuss it. Why extend that to another month if we're going to make changes? That would be my personal comment.
I couldn't even get through Mavis's 188 pages. I mean, come on.
I'll loan you my glasses.
If I may, and I.
Madam Chair.
Thank you. And Mr. Linder, we see your hand raised. If I just make a comment, this is a draft that was presented to you for your consideration. It is a draft, and it's a draft, as most good drafts. I would like all of you to take a good look at it. And please, if you have any comments on this, forward them to Mr. Ford, and he will.
Excuse me.
Well,
But he's having some.
I was going to blame Vern.
Mr. Ford.
There's a dentist at work.
I think Roger's on it.
Something's happening, but please read it. It does make some suggested changes on our rules of order.
So, we're done for the.
Roger's on his way.
And it also opens up opportunity for additional forms of public comment.
And is suffice it to say, is this the exhibit that helps us lessen the length of the meetings? Okay. That was humor, sorry.
Okay, so any more? Oh, Mr. Linder. Sorry, Mr. Linder.
Unfortunately, there are a number of us who are unable to attend in person. And so something has passed out at the meeting is something I couldn't possibly vote on. And I would move that we postpone the consideration of this until next month's executive committee. We can do that or not do that, but that's my motion.
Okay, so
I'll second that.
that is a motion to delay,
Postpone.
motion
To
to
adapt.
postpone to next month. Okay? And
Second.
Mr. Kenyon seconds. Any discussion on the motion to postpone?
Yeah, I agree with you.
There's always a first.
Mr. Kenyon seems to be in an agreeable mood today.
Yeah.
Okay. No discussion, please roll call, please.
Voice, point of order, can we do
you
voice
could do a
vote?
voice vote on
No,
postponing.
let's do a roll call.
Okay, you,
Hold on.
yeah.
Got people leaving. Roll call, please.
Ellen,
Ellen, I.
Bates,
Bates, yes.
Berman. Oh,
Berman left.
He left, sorry. Davis,
That was yes.
Ford. Caius,
Caius, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Lewis.
She's gone.
Okay.
Yeah, Lewis left.
Linder,
Linda, yes.
Molina,
Molina, yes.
Strathman,
Yes.
Surges,
Yes.
Tepe.
Deputy, yes.
It's postponed to next exec.
Okay, I need a motion to go into executive session. I'm sorry, Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just let the committee know, I don't have a need to go in executive committee executive session right now. I know it's on the agenda. If you want to, that's fine for that purpose, but, there's no need from my office or our office right now.
It's not, no, we got time to kill.
Okay,
Mike, I would go right into your, yeah.
Okay, committee reports. Madam Chairman, did you want to say anything?
You want to try?
Thank you for sharing this. My voice feels a little stronger, but thank you. No, I already made my comments earlier today, and I do look forward to getting your comments from your committees regarding your goals and objectives.
Thank you. Legislative update, Ms. Goins or Mr. Linder?
I would just add at this point that we've had some very favorable things coming out of Springfield and in Washington. Our representatives and Senator Durbin have proposed earmarks for us that will be quite favorable. Again, those have to be approved in the budget process, but no, it looks very good.
Thank you. Okay. Any other committees? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Ford.
Mr. Ford.
So I with I guess you could say through development, our jobs committee, the workforce development, which is kind of outside the county, but a part of the county, received notice from the state that we have an opportunity for in our grant to have 11% increase from last year. That would take us up to, I hope I get this, I'm not gonna say the full number because I don't quite remember it, but it'll take us up to $7.2+ million to have toward our workforce development, which those funds are used to help individuals either get jobs, get ready for jobs, or if they lost their jobs, to have the opportunity to get into another one. It just helps our workforce. And we've talked a lot about how we need to produce quality paying jobs. And I think if we can work with this, it'd be a great opportunity for us to reach some of the goals we have in our economic development plan.
Good. Look forward to the actual number. Okay. Any other discussion? Mr. Kenyon?
I would move that we adjourn. We beat the noon clock, so.
Davis, second.
Okay. Did you want a roll call? All in favor?
Aye.